prepare a slide deck. I think it can be a little more interactive and a little bit more informal to just chat through the topic today. First, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the Small Business Development Center. So as Chris mentioned, I'm a Hampton Roads native, a Peninsula native. I grew up in Hampton, graduated from high school in Hampton, and then left the area for college and was gone for many, many years, but came back about a year ago to join the Small Business Development Center. So we're part of America's SBDC, right? We have small business development centers all across the United States, even in the US territories. We're in Guam and the Virgin Islands, so great career path for me there. But in Virginia, we are part of Virginia's SBDC. So each state has its own centralized group. And in Virginia, our central office is under the umbrella of George Mason University. There's about 27 different centers across the Commonwealth. And here in Hampton Roads, we cover 18 localities: Williamsburg, the whole peninsula, the whole south side, and the two counties on the eastern shore. And we receive our funding from, half of our funds come from the SBA, and the other half come from those 18 localities that we serve. So thanks, Chris, to James City County and all of the communities on the peninsula that participate and sharing some funding with us, so that we're able to provide our services to the business community at no charge to the businesses that we serve. And we see businesses at all stages. So we work with folks who are in an ideation phase. Let's say that you've got an idea for a small business, you have a hobby or a great tomato sauce that you want to be able to share with the world and turn that into a small business, but you aren't quite sure how to do it. Our advisors can be a resource there. Let's say that now your tomato sauce business is taking off and you want to have start selling internationally. Well, we've got an international trade team that can help you do that. And 20 years from now, you're ready to go to Guam or the Virgin Islands and sell your business. Well, we can help you evaluate that and think about an exit strategy too. So we help at all phases and stages. In addition to our advisors here in Hampton Roads, there's a team of about 5 of us. We've got some statewide team experts that are pretty amazing too around craft beverage. So for folks that have a craft beverage business, we have a team with Virginia SBDC that can support that specifically. International trade is another team. And then our ICAP program, for which is Innovative Commercialization Assistance Fund. That's really for tech ideas, big scalable ideas. And then of course, also under our umbrella at George Mason is PTAC, which is GovCon. And that's a huge industry here. Many of our Hampton Roads based businesses take advantage of all of the government contracts that are in our region, but also, throughout the country. So that's a little bit about the Small Business Development Center. I'll also say folks most frequently come to us for advice around a couple of areas. One is A, they want to know how to get their business started. B, they are looking for new customers. How do they reach their customers, right? How do they find folks and tell them about the products or services that they have on offer? Maybe they want to open a second location or even brick and mortar. And also they need access to capital funding, right? They're ready to go to a lender, ready to go to their local banker and say, hey, I'd like to take out a loan to help grow my small business. And the interesting, we help with all of those every day. But the interesting about that is that all of those issues are in a business plan. They're addressed in a business plan. So Chris, I'm kind of curious at the EDA, when you have folks come to your office, what are the most common reasons folks reach out to you for help?
The most common questions we get are people are very apologetic with where they are, no matter what stage of business they're in, saying, I just don't know where I really am and where to turn. Don't know resources. I don't know who to talk to next, whether they have an idea or whether they have it drawn up in any sort of formal written business plan. Either there's some component missing of just, I don't know who to talk to about funding. I have a business, I want to start a second location. I don't know where I should start first. And we're more than happy to answer and direct those questions to, folks such as, yourself and the people at SBDC. A lot of our questions, I think, come from people that just don't know what a local economic development office does, or what a local EDA does, and just have questions. And just need a friend to talk to, need a resource of someone they can feel comfortable to say, where do I go next?
Yeah, and I think that people need a roadmap, right? They need trusted advisors, trusted resources, because there's so much information out there. I mean, the great thing is there's Google, right? And we can Google everything, and we can watch a TikTok video or a YouTube video, and so many resources are available at the click of a fingertip, but that can feel overwhelming sometimes too. And it can be hard to know, like, what is the best advice out there. So your economic development offices, your small business development centers are places that you can go for vetted, trusted advice. And with the SBDC, we also try to share other resources that we're aware of in the community. And again, those are vetted partners. So Innovate Hampton Roads, the Entrepreneurship Center at William & Mary, for example, the Start Peninsula, over here on the south side, we work real closely with 757 Studios. They're another great partner. So we would like to try to make sure that folks are aware of all those resources. But also some of the things that Chris and I both talked about, again, a business plan answers. And so I think lots of folks feel like a business plan is really unwieldy, right? Like it feels complicated. It feels like there's, they don't want to write a term paper. That's what it can feel like, 50 pages of this business idea. But it can be a lot simpler than that, and also really help you as a business owner map out what comes next, so that you have a roadmap, a guidebook, a playbook, for example.
A lot of times folks are at a stage where they have the idea in their head, they've talked about it with their family and friends, but they've never seen a business plan written down before. They've never seen the various components of a plan, and how, is the title of the session today, a living business plan. The difference, how that business plan is going to change over time. There might be something that they see on the news, read about on their various news source on their phone, and the question they call locally is, how does it impact me? How does it impact my business? What does that mean for my employees? What does that mean for my competition, regulatory environment? They need someone who can help them with those complex questions and identify resources that can help them continue operation, expect and succeed.
Yeah, absolutely. And so a business plan can be, you can have a 3-page business plan, or you could have a 20-page business plan, depending on the complexity of your idea. I don't think anybody needs much more than 20 pages or so. And that might be if you, again, had a very complicated business plan, many employees, lots of financial projections that you needed to put in there. But at the bare minimum, here's 3 things that a business plan, and again, you can put this on a couple of pieces of paper and have it written out in front of you. What you really want a business plan to help answer is, you want a marketing analysis. So is there demand for your product or service, right? Who are your customers? You might have a great idea, but is anybody buying that great idea? And then you need a marketing plan. So you have a great idea. You've determined that there's a customer base for that, but how do they know you exist? How are they going to find you? What's your plan to get the word out on the street? And then that's another thing that you need to understand is the financial analysis. So can this idea make money? Does the product or service that you're selling generate revenue? And so there's lots of ways that we talk to our clients about that. Going back to a marketing analysis, is there a demand for your product or service? Well, there's some research that you can do to determine that, right? You can take a look at how many people are in your community. Who is your market, right? Is it James City County? Is it the Historic Triangle? Is it the Peninsula? Is it the Commonwealth, right? The product or service that you're providing, is it something that people have to be here in our region to access, or could they access it from any place in the world? That can get kind of complicated, right? So is there a demand for it? And how do you determine what that demand is? What is your unique value proposition is another thing that we talk about in this marketing analysis part. So how is what you're offering different than what already exists in the marketplace, right? If you want to open a coffee shop, or let me think more about a home-based business. You're doing landscape architecture, right? You're helping people lay out their gardens and beautiful outdoor spaces. Certainly a home-based business, but there's probably other folks in James City County and the peninsula that offer that service. So what are you doing to differentiate yourself? Are you using all local plants, natural plants that are native to Virginia, or are you helping people choose plants that don't require as much water? Or I know we were just talking about Arizona before the call started. What's really big out there are those hardscapes, xeriscape landscapes, and sometimes folks are interested in that. Or would you want to include edibles in your landscape, right? You're helping people plant berries and vegetables and other things that could, there's all kinds of different ways that you could differentiate yourself in that space. But it really is like, what is the market interested in? So that's the whole marketing analysis piece. And then again, that marketing plan, now that you've determined that there is an audience for your product and service, and there's a number of them, right? And how often they're going to buy your product or service. Those are other things that we want to think about, like how big is your audience? How frequently will they purchase from you? Who else could they purchase the same thing from? How will they find you? And then again, what kind of revenue will this generate for you? And is it enough to meet the needs of your household? Is this a full-time business and you're trying to meet all of your household needs with it? Or is it something that you're doing as a part-time business and you have other forms of revenue that are coming into your household? So a business plan is going to be able to answer all of those things for you. Another thing a business plan does, especially for folks that are just getting started, and it looks like on our call today, there are a couple of people that are starting businesses out of the gate. It can help you make a go or a no-go decision. Like, am I ready to make this investment? How much of my own funding will this business require? A business plan can answer some of that for you. So when you get into a more detailed plan, you're thinking about, what do the operations look like? What's the management and organization of your business? Will you be hiring staff, or are you a solopreneur? All the financial components of your business. Oftentimes, business plans, especially those that you might take to a lender, are going to have financial projections in there. They're going to demonstrate what your revenue has been and what you're predicting that your revenue will be in the future, your balance sheets, your profit and loss statements. And oftentimes financial institutions like to see contracts that you might have too. If you're applying for a loan, this is especially true for government contractors. Let's say that you want to go to your local financial institution to get a $100,000 loan because you need to hire staff because of a contract that you got. So if you have a copy of that contract, that makes the financial institution more comfortable with making that loan, for example. So your business plan would include a contract, and even other types of contracts or agreements that you may have that guarantee business and income.
Jolie, is there a rule of thumb for businesses that have a written business plan in terms of how often that should be reviewed?
Yeah, I think it's definitely a good idea to look at your business plan probably on a quarterly basis, especially if you have those financial projections in there, right? And your business plan also addresses, like, again, how you're reaching customers, what you think your financial benchmarks and your financial goals are. So if you're looking at that quarterly, you can see, how am I tracking? Am I meeting those milestones that I set for myself? And if I'm not, it helps you course correct pretty quickly. You don't wait till the end of the year to realize that the revenue that you thought was going to be coming in, you didn't hit that mark that year. If you're looking at it quarterly or perhaps even monthly, especially with your financial projections, it allows you time to correct. It allows you time to come talk to an SBDC advisor and say, hey, things aren't trending quite as well as I had predicted. Like, can you help me kind of figure out what's going on here? Or here's what I think is going on, but I could use someone to bounce these ideas off of. I also think you would want to pull out your business plan If you're making any changes, right? What if you have an idea for a new product or service, right? You want to expand your business. That's a good time to take out your business plan to kind of help you see where you've been, so you can figure out the best place to go and grow in the future.
I had a local business here in my locality recently that had been in business for over 50 years that wouldn't be the typical business that's asking for help from someone such as SBDC, or in this case, it was trying to find a store representative to come out to their store and help them with just their stocking. They were having seasonal restocking issues and had limited space, and just said they'd look back at their books over the last couple of years and say, you know, when we get to seasonal changes, we're just not getting the right mix on our shelves. And just through a few conversations, a few meetings, and some SCORE volunteers that were willing to invest some time and their expertise, were able to make some changes that the owner had not really thought of before, and was a little skeptical as to whether they would work. But it was just a decent example of where someone that you wouldn't ordinarily think was reaching out for help was saying, you know, things are good, but they could be better. And before we make a change, we want someone else to, you know, bounce ideas off of and take a look at that.
You've got a great SCORE chapter on the peninsula out of Williamsburg. So if folks aren't familiar with SCORE, I don't know if they spell out the acronym anymore, but it initially stands for Service Corps of Retired Executives.
Mhm.
So 30 years ago, it was oftentimes men that had very successful, Wall Street careers or big careers with the bank, and they were retired but weren't ready to retire. And this was their way of giving back to the community. Now, lots of those SCORE volunteers are entrepreneurs themselves. That are still active in running their own businesses, and they have such a passion for it that they want to give back to the community. So it's another SBA program. Unlike the SBDC, where our team, we're paid advisors, these are our jobs. SCORE still remains volunteer based,
Right.
but excellent, knowledgeable people, a great resource. Again, the chapter out of Williamsburg, really well run, so you can find them online. And the other resource I was thinking about, particularly for this group, is the Retail Alliance.
Right.
They're a membership-based group that covers the whole peninsula and south side. So if you have a retail business, they can be another great resource too. They're not at no cost like SCORE or the SBDC, but they are a worthwhile investment for retail.
And I see two of our attendees here today, and one writing a statement in the chat has already had another attendee say, reach out to me, I can help.
Yeah.
So it's even participating in something like this on a lunch and learn, we've found two people who found each other that you're reaching out to and offer assistance they might not otherwise have had. So if you didn't hear me in the beginning, if you have any questions, please write them into the chat, and we'd be happy to try to interrupt wherever we are in the presentation. And let's make this interactive. And if you have a question, feel free to put it in the chat, and we'll address it timely.
I would say another thing to think about with your business plan, I like to write. I am very comfortable with the written word, and could probably knock out a 10-page business plan just typing it. But lots of folks are more visual too, and all that dense writing, right? Especially in this day and age. Do we even read books anymore? So there's formats that are becoming increasingly popular. Something that we use with our clients is a canvas. So you may have heard of the business model canvas, even the startup canvas. It's one piece of paper that's broken out into different blocks. It is very visual. It covers all of the components in a business plan, but you can kind of see it at a very high level on one page. That's a great way to start working on an outline for your business plan and get the big ideas on paper. Using a canvas is another great thing that you can take to a lender. You can take to a potential investor. You can take it to your spouse or your business partner if you want to share more about your business with them and give them something that they can really look at. So I love canvases for their kind of again, very visual, big picture nature. It helps you get started. It gives you a place. It's a good roadmap. If you don't do anything else, if you don't want to write out a business plan, do a canvas every quarter or do a canvas twice a year, once a year. Just kind of see if everything is still the way that you thought it was, because, businesses are dynamic, right? And that's what, and small business owners are flexible and nimble, and things are always changing. And those canvases can just kind of give you that big picture every, so often. More and more lenders even are looking at pitch decks, or not pitch decks. They're looking at like a deck, a slide deck as a business plan. That used to be the world of like Silicon Valley and pitch decks and all that kind of stuff. But now we're using the idea of a pitch deck as a business plan. So generally it's about 10 slides. Again, very visual. You're answering a lot of the same questions that you would be writing out in a business plan, but it's a little bit more bulleted and high level. And often for some lenders that can provide enough information because it is showing that you thought through, again, who your customers are, how you're reaching them, that you've validated your idea, you've demonstrated that there's a market for it, meaning you'll be able to find customers, folks willing to pay for this product or service. But again, for financial institutions, no matter how you do your overview, if it's going to be in a deck or if it's going to be in a written document, they'll still want to see those pro formas that we talked about, your balance sheets, your profit and loss statements, your projections. I would also say, we were talking about the SBA a couple of times now. The SBA has some terrific online resources too. You can just type SBA business plan and it'll give you a couple of different templates that help you get started. Because, it can feel overwhelming to just look at a blank page and try to go from there.
Oh, good point. How does, we hear a lot of questions these days, and we certainly see the news all the time about hearing that, AI is going to take over. AI is the new rage, and it's going to be running our lives, in a matter of time, and driverless cars and things that make people of my generation a little nervous. What are you hearing, Jolie, about, with questions, with people asking, how does AI affect a business or a business plan or someone that you might be otherwise engaged with?
I'm with you, Chris. It makes me a little bit nervous. I'm not such a techie person. I'm still like, is Facebook a thing? Yeah, it has been a thing for 20 years. It's not going anywhere. So same with AI. We've got a couple of advisors on our team that love it, embrace it. And I'm so glad because they help keep me engaged with it, where otherwise I might kind of want to ignore it, but you can't, right? Business is changing really fast, and the way that your customers interact with you is changing really quickly too. In fact, we have an amazing client. It's an out in Portsmouth, 70-year-old business, really successful. The third generation is taking over, and they wanted some assistance. And they were Googling like who helps. They were using AI to say like who helps in the community with these kinds of issues. Give me some examples. And that's how they found the SBDC, was through ChatGPT. And I was like, whoa. Wow. So we're seeing a lot of our clients with our really AI savvy advisors, they'll use ChatGPT, for example, to say like, what does a marketing message sound like? Like what kind of, how would I want to describe this business? And you provide AI with a couple of prompts and then it spits back an answer for you. But what we do is tell clients like that isn't the answer. That's information that then you can build upon, right? You can fact check some of that. So there's even been clients I think that have used AI to initially help write their business plan, but that's the same thing as hiring someone to take a test for you, or hiring someone in the past, people would hire someone to write a business plan. Yeah, you'll have a business plan, you'll have a product, but you didn't have to think through any of that. So how well do you understand it? How well would you even understand your business? So using AI or ChatGPT to like give you some outlines and some meat for your business plan, I think if that's what you like to do, sure. But then you need to use that and kind of like validate it, verify it, put it into your own language too, to really make sure that you're understanding it. Because the point of a business plan isn't just to check a box. It's really to be like a living resource that helps you succeed and grow your business. Again, it's that roadmap that helps you when you kind of get stuck, or helps make sure that you're meeting the milestones that you've set for yourself to succeed.
I think another common question, we get, certainly the folks that come to us initially saying, I have an idea and I just don't know where to go, or the folks that is the one example I use. We get a lot of existing businesses. You just mentioned one, that's 70 years old and it's in its, a advanced stage in its third generation, of saying, well, maybe the market has changed quite a deal, since the business opened, and I've got competition that we didn't have before.
Yeah.
And I'm comfortable selling a product. I'm just not comfortable with the whole digital online world and establishing, how to market my product online. I'm more of a touchy-feely, go around, drive around and do sales calls. That it's SBDC is there, all these resources are there for both stages of businesses, both startups not knowing where to turn and how to get from point A to B to Z, and those that are saying, we've matured and we've been through a life cycle or two, and we need to see where to take that next step and how to compete with a changing marketplace, that may see more of a product, and they might be resistant to selling products online. I don't want to be stuck behind a computer. I'd rather be in a brick and mortar business, or working with my hands.
And it's easy for us to get, we do it in our own jobs, right? Like, I'm very comfortable just doing things the way that I've always done them. I'm resistant to this AI stuff, right? But like, you have to evolve, and sometimes working with an advisor can help, like, either push you outside your comfort zone or walk beside you as you're exploring that, right? It's easier with a buddy sometimes, when we're trying to make changes or do things that feel uncomfortable or new to us. So I would say it's important. I mean, gosh, so much changed during COVID, don't you think, Chris? I mean, that turned like what might have been 20 years of change. We compressed it, and we changed in 2 years in terms of Zoom, we wouldn't have had this type of meeting 2 years ago. There's no way we would be doing this in person at the Holiday Inn or something, or at the economic development office. And it's just
no one ever thought that their business would become, like a Brady Bunch tile, staring at 9 other faces, staring back and asking questions and saying, well, that was a productive meeting. But then that became our average day, and most businesses became home-based businesses out of necessity.
Yep. And had to turn to e-commerce, right? Stuff that they might have been selling in person at shows, or, it's all via their website now. And a lot of brick and mortars, like you said, had to completely switch to e-commerce. Closed brick and mortar locations are operating successfully as home-based businesses. But man, there was some growing pains to get through that. And that's where it can be, again, a business, rewriting your business plan, looking back at your business plan to see what really succeeded and how you can pivot that, how you can use that to your advantage, as you enter this brave new world.
I think it at a certain level, it's like folks that would, call us and say, well, I don't think I need a business plan. I'm like, well, do you have a job? Do you have a job description? Yes. Okay. Well, you're given evaluations to see how well you're doing at doing that job that was in the job description, but that description might need to change as well. It's no different for businesses. What worked, 6 months ago, a year ago, 5 years ago, 10, 20, 30 years ago, it's a very different environment now, and you have to be flexible and willing to be adaptive to succeed in this marketplace.
And I 100% agree. And here is the reason I tell every business that they need a business plan. I don't know how many of y'all have heard of LISC, but they are a national nonprofit. They're amazing. I worked with them in Mississippi. I love them. They open an office. They've been in Richmond for a while. They opened an office in Hampton Roads about 2 years ago. When I came on board in my role, they hired a new executive director too, and they have a new team. The executive director is a guy named Jay Grant. He's amazing. Something that they did was receive some grant funding to start a business loan fund. And so they've got, I don't know, 700,000 or so in funding available to lend to small businesses. You have to have been in business for 2 years or more, and you have to have at least 1 employee. So you, the business owner, but you have to have 1 other person working with you. Unfortunately, your solopreneurs are not eligible for this loan. If I said grant, they received grant funding, but they're offering loans. They're offering 0 interest loans with 0 fees, no fee, no loan. I mean, no interest. 6 months initially with no payments. So you've got 6 months of runway at the beginning of that loan to use the money to increase the revenue before you even have to make a single payment. I mean, it's amazing. It does not get better than that for a loan. Like, you just can't find that. Do you know what they want? They want a copy of your business plan. So in addition to the financial statements, they're asking to see, just like any other financial institution would want to see, again, profit and loss statements, those pro formas. They also want to see a business plan. And so, gosh, when opportunities like that to help to grow your business are available, you want to jump on them. You don't want to wait a month to put a business plan together so that you can be eligible for this funding. And, you know, again, the reason they're asking for it is because they want to make sure that the investments that they're putting out into the community are with businesses that are going to be able to do something with it, right? So having a business plan to them demonstrates that you've thought through all those components we've been chatting about this whole half hour, that you have a customer, you've identified your customers, you know how to reach them. You've demonstrated that this business, that this idea that you have is a business idea, meaning that it will generate revenue, right? And that means that you'll be able to pay the loan back to them so that they can turn around and lend money to another business. So that is the reason that you need a business plan.
Is anyone in the chat, any of our attendees, do they have any questions? I don't see any other questions in the chat. If anybody has one, feel free to type it in there so we can make good use of Jolie's time. I know she has another meeting she has to be at in a short period of time. But I don't want to cut anybody off at the last minute.
Yeah, I'm happy to stick around if folks have questions. I know I can see in the chat that you've been making some connections amongst yourself, which is amazing. So important to connect with other entrepreneurs and small business owners, because, you know, they're the folks that are in the trenches with you. They understand the challenges. And also it's a great way to forge partnerships or referrals. You can let your customers know about each other, especially when you have businesses that align. The name of the company that I mentioned is LISC. And I said grant because they received grant funding, but what they are offering is a loan. So you do have to pay it back, but it's at 0 interest, and it's LISC. Here, I'm putting it in the chat. LISC Hampton Roads. And if you Google them, you'll see at the top of their website, they have something that says like small business, or it'll be obvious like what you click on at the top of their page that shows you some of the resources they have available for small businesses. And I think there was one other question about how can we get guidance in creating a business plan? Yeah, let me put another thing in the chat real quick, since I didn't create any slides. You can just go to hrsbdc.com. That's our website, Hampton Roads Small Business
SBDC.
hrsbdc.com. And there's a button on there that just says, make an appointment or request services. So that's one way. You can meet with an advisor and we'll talk to you about it. Again, the SBA, if you just Google SBA business plan, they've got some templates online that you can, that can help get you started too.
I would say for anyone else, whatever locality your business is located in, get to know your local economic development office, whether you're in a city or a county. Make that a good point of contact. Introduce yourself, talk about your business, and just ask questions to see, maybe you can get on a listserv they might send out, periodic emails and updates and monthly newsletters. But just to have a good resource of having someone you can turn to when a question comes up that really stumps you. There's no need to sit around and say, I don't know what else to do. Use the network of people, your friends, your economic development offices, the regional offices, SBDC, some of the other organizations that were mentioned on this call. But like I said, just introduce yourself to your local economic development office, get to know their names, their contacts, and have that be part of a regular conversation you have, and go up to network and go to local events. And certainly this is great to have the opportunity for a lunch and learn, to do it from our office, to take too much time out of our day. But be a part and participate in those local organizations, and you'll meet a lot of people that have been through a lot of the troubles, and can say that I know how to do this because I've done it before.
Yeah.
And, they have good resources and just as we've seen here with folks that, introduce themselves to other attendees, on a lunch and learn. It's a great opportunity.
And I would also say, look, small business owners, entrepreneurs, super resilient bunch, also super independent. You're used to wearing 20 different hats, doing it all by yourself. When you need a little bit of support or help, ask early, because we see two things. We see businesses that come to us as soon as they are in trouble, and the sooner they come to us, the more runway that we have available to help them fix it before it snowballs. We also see businesses that have tried to fix it themselves. They've been too busy to ask for help. They wanted to solve it themselves as a matter of pride. And then by the time they do reach out to their economic development office or SCORE or the SBDC, we don't have as much available to us anymore, right? Because the problem's gotten a little bit bigger. So, there's so many great partners that are willing to offer guidance and advice and a little bit of support. So take advantage of it.
Great help, Jolie. Thank you so much for your time today. Is all of you, I'm sure, can use Google and find Jolie at the Hampton Roads SBDC. Reach out to your local EDOs, find out who they are, introduce yourself.